I'm Mark Tremonti. I'm with Alter Bridge. For my whole career, I've used Diodario strings. I'm always experimenting with tuning, so it's something that makes it necessary to have different string gauges because you can't really put a set of 10s on a guitar that's tuned down to A. And Diodario is patient with me to make it all happen.
All right. Hey, I'm John Bohlinger with Premier Guitar. We're at the Orpheum in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm with Mark Tremonti of Alter Bridge. Mark, great seeing you again, man.
Great to see you, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for inviting us to the sound check. It's been, I think almost a decade since the last
Nashville. We were at the war memorial
downtown. Yeah, it was great.
The rig has changed a lot since then.
A lot. In fact, that clean tone is something we'll get into. There's a big reveal, so you have to watch to the end. But let's start right here talking about, let's talk about guitars, pedals, and then amps. Sure. So tell me a little bit about this one right here.
So the Sunburst is, gosh, it's one of the first single cut with the bridge, floating bridge. It's what I used for our most important songs of the night. You know, I use this for Blackbird. I use this for Cry of Achilles. This is my go-to for those, you know, when it really counts. This is what I rely on. So what counts in standard tuning? This is my standard tuning guitar. Standard tuning a half step down.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Standard for you is down a half step.
Yeah.
Van Halen standard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Van Halen set that standard.
There's one song I do that's not down a half step. It's actually open D5 in standard. So relative standard.
Yeah. Relative standard. Okay. And so this signature was built how long ago do you think?
This was probably 2000. If I'm guessing 2002, maybe 2003. Yeah.
That is shocking, man.
Yeah, and it's a beast. It's heavy. There's just something about it. It just sounds great, plays great. It's got a bunch of soul, and even though it's got all these chambers in here for the bar and everything, it's got a lot of weight.
Yeah, you know, that's what I really love about your signature guitar, because you can see the influence, but it's its own thing.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that, I guess during the process, did you and Paul just really kind of work through, you told him like everything you wanted?
Yeah, you know, we got together and me just being a picky guy, they'd send me a guitar and I'd said, you know, I think Jeff Lanahan called me. He's like, we'd like for you to try out some of our guitars. I'm like, well, I have one of your guitars. I absolutely love it, but I don't play it on stage because the configuration is not what I'm used to. When I'm playing live, I want to be able to switch between pickups and everything's just it's what I'm used to.
Paul guy back back then.
Yeah. So they sent me a McCarty, love it, one of my favorite guitars ever. But it was a little rounder sounding, you know, it was more of a blues style kind of guitar, Paul style.
Yeah.
And it had just one volume and one knob on it, and the switch was down here. I was like, I just can't use it live, but I'll use it in the studio. I'll use it to write with. So like, all right, we'll send you another one. They sent me another guitar, loved it, but I'm like, again, I can't use it on stage. So like, all right, how about we just design a guitar for you and make it your signature model? And at that time, it was Carlos Santana was the only other guy at PRS that had a signature model.
Yeah.
So the kid in me is like, you know, sure. And the kid on the inside is like, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and you were a kid.
I was a kid.
Yeah,
I was a kid.
Yeah.
And they sent me out the first guitar, and it looked like a blue whale. Had a big top on it and a little tiny lip on the bottom. Paul's always trying to, you know, do his own thing.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't want to make a Les Paul. He wanted to make it a PRS single cut. So it took us a little bit of time to get through just the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
And then we got into the neck carve. And the neck carve at first was just the traditional PRS neck.
Yeah.
And then for me, they would shave it down a bit, make it my specs. And then they sold it at first with just the PRS neck. And then friends of mine would play mine and be like, wow, this neck is great. like, when are we going to get my neck on my guitar? So finally we did. So if you have one of the original neck ones, they're probably a collector's item because they didn't make very many of them. The ones with my name on the 12th fret, those are the rare ones too. Yeah. But we finally got it dialed in, and then over the years we won't change much, but we'll have like different tuning pegs and different tuners and different aesthetics on the pickups.
Sure.
My pickup when the guitar first came out was not the signature pickup that developed maybe a couple years into it.
So what did you tweak pickup wise?
Well, this was just the Dragon 2, I believe, pickup for the neck. Like, we just kept that the way it is.
Yeah.
But with this the bridge pickup, we had them send out 10 pickups, each one wound tighter than the last, and we got through about 4 before I plugged it in and played. And my sound engineer out front was like, "Wait a minute, go back to that last one." And
so did you have like 10 guitars with different pickups in it?
No, I think we had 2 guitars and we were kind of going back and forth between the 2 as fast as we could.
Yeah.
And we got to that 4th one and it was a little edgier than I was used to. But we're like, wait, let's look at our EQs here and see if we can make this work. And we just took a little of the presence down and it cut so well. And now I've had people, I forget, it might have been a few artists come up to me and be like, "Hey man, I got your pickup in my guitar. I love it." And at the time, it was one of the most tightly wound pickups out there. Before all the crazy, you had the Screaming Demons and that stuff.
Sure.
But then people went nuts with them. But before people went nuts with them, it was one of the most high gain, high output pickups.
Yeah. Well, it's really been cool, kind of just watching the whole progression. And I can't believe it's been 22 years.
Oh yeah.
God.
Absolutely. And it's gone through so many different, the SEs and the, there's 3 different levels. You can get the cheapest SE that everybody can afford and they play great.
They play, I have, I don't know if I reviewed it or played it, but God, incredible. And like affordable guitar.
Yeah. And that's, to me, the affordability is huge for me. When I put out the MT-15.
Right.
I told the guys, I'm like, in a perfect world, we have a 5 before the price tag.
Yeah.
$599, whatever you want to make it.
Right.
And we got within $50 of that when we released the amp. And a lot
Huge,
of people lost their mind over it. Yeah. Sam Ash came up to me, I was saying earlier, we were at NAMM, and I think there were 7,800 products that came out. I don't know how, I think there's a best in show for a bunch of different categories. And Sam Ash came over to me and he's like, "I just wanted you to see this." And he pops the best in show right on top of the MT-15. And it was one of those moments. Because I'm an amp. I like amps. Amps are my thing. Like, I'm crazy about amps. Guitars, I have my signature guitar.
Yeah.
Amps, I collect nonstop. So I didn't want to put out an amp that wasn't received well. So I was happy it was received well.
Yeah. Great. Okay. We're going to get into some amp cool stuff in a little while, but I want to see, can we see that prototype?
Yes.
The one before this?
So, the interesting thing about this guitar, we call it HA because we were in Seattle and my tour manager said a bunch of the Hells Angels are coming to the show tonight. So just let them have, let them do what they do their thing, be gentlemen. And so I'm sitting there warming up for the show, and about 5 minutes before we're hitting the stage, this gentleman walks in with his wife and sits down next to me as I'm warming up and just takes out a sticker and puts it right on my guitar. So it stayed there. It's stayed there ever since.
That's kind of non-negotiable.
Yeah. So it's
you gotta have to roll with it.
Part of the history of the guitar, but this one's gotten played a lot. This is a studio beast. It's I use this for a lot of lower tunings, or this right now is in drop B, so the bottom string is down in B.
Wow. So over the over 2 decades you've played this, have you changed frets? Have you done anything?
Yeah, this one, no. Look at the frets on this thing.
Oh, yeah.
So Paul Reed Smith got my other guitar, my main charcoal burst, and he's like, "I've never seen frets this bad."
That is saying something.
But I like the feel of when the frets are wore in a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like a baseball mitt. It just It feels good. You know, when the frets are new, it's a little tingy. But this one, original frets, and they're just beat up. I'm
high mileage on that guitar.
I'm not a delicate guitar player.
Yeah, I felt your picks are like
hard.
rocks.
Yeah, I play very hard, so my frets get abused. I thought I turned that ringer off on the guitar, but no, this is definitely one of the like I said, in the studio, this one stays in tune and his intonation's perfect and everything. It just sounds great. It's a workhorse.
Okay, that's great. Well, let's see the what's next.
This is we call it dime. This is dime bag. This is this is my favorite finish on a PRS. I just love it. This is probably the guitar that is my most known guitar. You know, of course, Paul signed it himself here, and
oh, that's so great.
He put the custom built for Mark Tremonti back here, and it was, I think, the second PRS single cut with a bar on it ever made. The first one is at home. It's a platinum. It's like a silver, but this guitar's just always had the mojo and played one of my favorite playing guitars I've ever owned. So when we were doing a show at the House of Blues in Orlando, this was real soon after Dimebag passed away, and a fan was handing out these stickers, and I got a hold of one, and I was like, let's just put it on my favorite guitar. And it's just,
that's great.
It stayed there all these years. You can see how faded the sticker is now.
Yeah, it just looks cooler. Okay,
yes.
tell me about this thing.
So this could arguably be my favorite guitar in the world. It's just amazing. So I called Paul and I said, can we design a guitar? He's like, all right, Mark, if you come up to the factory and you draw it with me, well, I'll think about it. So we went up there and got on the dry erase board, and it's me and Paul and Bev and Rich and, you know, maybe 4 or 5 of us. And Paul gets up there and kind of makes an outline. And I was like, well, what if we made this less sharp or this and that? He's like, here, take the pen. So we were drawing it together. We drew this thing together, and then and of course it's got Explorer-esque, you know, it's kind of that
Although
shape.
totally its own thing.
Yeah. Well, there's only so many things you can do with a guitar, right? So he had his wizard come in the room, and he took the picture of the dry erase board, and he came back 15 minutes later with this rotisserie 3D image of the whole guitar. I'm like, what? That is incredible. And I have all the screenshots, you know, saved somewhere. But there's only 4 of these. This was the very last one they just made. I've got this one and one it's like a black burst. It's like darker than this one. Then I've got just a pure black one, then I've got a brown one. But this is my favorite one.
Oh God, that wood is just so beautiful.
And I don't realize how off I am with my aim, because I've tore it up. But
yeah, that's some aggressive playing.
I've had so many folks say, where can I get one? Where can I get one? And I tell Paul and Bev, I'm like, guys, these folks want this guitar. Why don't we make a limited run or make another signature model? And it's a 3-piece top. They'd have to develop a brand new CNC machine. It would be another corner of the factory.
Okay, Paul, the ball's in your court.
That's right.
The people want it.
He's gonna hate this.
Yeah.
Every time we go to dinner, me and Paul, he's like, okay, that damn guitar, we're not making it. It's like, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 15 guitars if you just shut up about that guitar. So he nice enough to make it for me, but I don't think he wants to get into the business of making them. But it's called Stella. We put Stella on the headstock. Stella's my daughter, and that's why I have all these. People will be like, yeah, you know, Ukraine, you know, because of course I'm supporting Ukraine, but these are the Down syndrome colors. That's why it's on there. My daughter has Down syndrome, and people will be like, you know, the Ukraine flag has blue on the top. Like, yeah, but this is
different
serving two purposes, I guess now. But yeah, this is Stella, and it's beautiful. It plays great. It's you know, Paul signed it, custom built it for me, and
That's beautiful. What, God, how do you even get a case for that, right?
It's a big case.
Yeah, I
it's
bet.
a big case. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's the ones I have at home. That's tough because the cases are they're that thick and this big, and they take up
Right.
all the room.
Yeah,
So
totally worth it.
yeah, Paul and Rich tried to give me this guitar that they made for Lady Gaga. It was a pink guitar that shot out in all 4 directions, and the case was as big as that drum riser.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, I don't want it. I don't want that guitar. I'm not going to play it. Here, take it, Mark. Just play it a couple times. I'm not going to play it live.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Hey, there was one other guitar that had this great art on it. Do you
Yeah,
know
the
them?
Fenton guitar. Yeah.
I not to wear you out. I know you got, I know you got a gig
man.
and stuff.
This is-
but
I love talking gear.
yeah.
So we did 20 of these. So I commissioned an artist, Joe Fenton. If you look him up, he's got just killer artwork. And this is when I was thinking about getting a tattoo. I'm looking up all this art, and I come across this, and I'm like, yeah, that would be a great tattoo.
Yeah.
Like, well, why don't I just get it painted on the guitar instead? 'Cause I
Way
don't have any
better.
tattoos.
Yeah.
So he painted this awesome thing, and this is just one of. So after all these years went by, like, what should we do for your 20th anniversary with PRS? And we're thinking, should we do 20 the dime bag replicas where we do the same dents and the same sticker and all this stuff? And we got approvals from the estate to do it, or we could also do the Fenton thing. So we could only pull off the Fenton thing in time. So we hired Joe, or Paul hired Joe to paint 20 guitars, and then
So he literally,
they're all individual.
wow,
Yeah.
so he literally painted
There's,
those.
there's not 2 the same, so they're all different imagery.
Wow.
So they did 20, and I'm talking to Joe. I'm like, yeah, well, that's cool, because I'm going to pick one
Yeah.
of the 20. And then I talked to Bev. I'm like, yeah, so she's like, yeah, we already sold this one to this and that. I'm like, wait, let me choose one before they all go. She's like, oh, you want one? I'm like, yeah. It's like, well, we already sold 20 to dealers, so we're going to have to make 21. So I actually got on the phone with Joe, and I got to say, hey, let's, he had a couple ideas that I liked. So I liked the light emanating from the corner of one of his guitars, and he had this old guy on one of them. Like, let's do the old guy and the light and this and that. So he
That's great.
he painted it, and then he also did some stuff on the back.
Oh
It's-
yeah, I love the Easter egg back there.
Yeah, so it's
that's
kinda
like just for you. Nobody.
yeah, no, yeah. So it's it's great. It's got the matte finish on it. I don't play it much because I just don't want to get it. I don't want to mess it
Sure.
up.
Yeah, you don't want it looking like dime.
Yeah, no. and I'm a fan of guitars that have some dings in them. It's their life. I don't ever get mad when a guitar gets dinged
Yeah.
up. When I was a kid, I hated it.
Yeah.
I had my old guitar. I would polish it every other day, and if anybody touched it, I'd like, take off your belt.
Yeah.
Now they're all.
Yeah, you had one guitar.
This is my nicest, prettiest, best kept guitar, just because of the art.
Okay. Beautiful, man. Well, that's great. Great to see the lineup. Let's talk a little bit about some pedals.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I go first into a wah pedal.
And
that's
you've always been a cable guy.
always a cable guy.
Yeah.
This kind of thing we were talking about earlier about digital amp modeling and everything. It all changes the tone, in one way or another. And silly me, I've never even tried. I've gone out once or twice with a wireless just to hear the front of the house with somebody else's, but I've never done it in a show.
Yeah.
I've just heard so many people say, "Yep, changes the tone." So I'm like, "All right, no, I'm not doing it."
Yeah.
So I think I'm the only guy on stage with the cable. I am.
Yeah. And it's amazing because you've played huge venues, as big as it gets.
Long cables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're like a 50-foot cable.
Yeah,
Whatever it takes.
Long cable warms the tone a little bit, But yeah, I go into first wah over on this side. So I have.
And that's your SIG, right?
This is the Morley signature wah. I usually have one over here and one over here, just so I can say hi to different folks if I'm using it.
Sure.
So that wah has a little bit of boost added to it. That's why it was called the Power Wah. So I just pretty much, back when we got together with Morley, I looked at I was using the Bad Horsey at the time, and I was like, all right, let's tweak I think I dialed in with the pedal the frequency that I like the most. I'm like, can we just take that and broaden that, and then take this frequency and like the low mid and high mid and just boost that and get rid of some of the high end. So that's what we did with the pedal.
Oh.
Then
Well,
we
wasn't
go-
that what a great luxury to be able to like get them to make the wah like you want it.
Yeah, and it wasn't a long process. These guys were just quick. Like, yeah, we just take this and, they can just take a frequency and blow it up. Then we go into the hand-wired tube screamer, which is I've toured with for years and years. The only other overdrive that I like better than that is the Klon, but I'm not going to bring a Klon on stage because it's just going to get messed up. But the tube screamer, love it. And I tape these pedals not to hide settings, but to make sure they don't get nudged.
Yeah.
And then this is just my foot controller for my amp. Then I've got the Boss OC5 octave, and I never was really a Boss octave player until I saw some people reviewing this pedal, and then I bought it and kind of A-beat it with a bunch of my octaves at home, and it was just as good as anything I had. And it's such a small little pedal space, and it's got so many options. It's got the analog and the the polyphonic settings on there. So if you're doing single string stuff, you throw it on the analog and it sounds rich and warm. You put it on the polyphonic, you can do chords, and it sounds great.
Yeah, that's great.
The MXR Smart Gate is something that I just started using on this last tour, and I couldn't live without it anymore. It's
Really?
we do, when we're doing high gain stuff, we're doing pretty high gain stuff, and we do a lot of songs that have like stop, hit a couple chords of stop, and then want it to be dead quiet. That thing, it just cuts it right off, and I got it set right to where it's not too, it's not soaking up your tone. It's just
Right.
It's just right where it needs to be.
Not cutting off the note when you're holding the sustain.
It only does it when you really want it to do it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't live without that now. And there was a few we've tried, but the MXR is the one that I keep going back to. Of course, the Everybody's Boss tuner.
Yeah, that's kind of the standard of the industry.
Yeah, for sure. And then this is a prototype for. I'm starting a pedal manufacturing company here.
Oh, how great.
It's just a fun. I think it's just it'll be a fun project, And
Yeah.
I'm just like everything else. I'm going to try and keep them real affordable, real user friendly. This is a Univibe type pedal.
Can we hear it a little bit?
Yeah. So this is a prototype for a new pedal that I'm developing. I'm trying to develop a whole line of pedals.
Oh, great.
I don't know what we're going to call them yet, but I want to come out with 3 pedals first. And this one is a modulation style.
Yeah. Univibe. Wow, man.
It's great. It's got a lot of just pure vibe. And I don't use it much live, but there's 3 or 4 songs that I'll use it in, and it's just
God, it sounds great. And
rich.
you're not running stereo, but it gives you this kind of stereo spread that's crazy.
I've always been a fan of modulating effects. I've had the Univibes, and I've had all the boutique style pedals like that, and I'm just trying to make one that's as good as any of those or better, and for my playing.
Sure.
And,
But
I
sounds
love it.
great.
It's real classy, and
I love the way it looks too.
yeah, I think
The whole
we've been talking about coming up with this hip aesthetic for the thing. I'm like, I like the way it is.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like if Alexander Dumble were alive and making pedals, that's what it would look like.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Totally.
It
Now,
looks boutique.
okay, so what pedals are you in the line gonna develop? What?
So right now I've got this pedal. I've got a tremolo pedal, which there's companies that do the one trick pony thing really well. They make these great pedals that you only use for one trick.
Sure.
The tremolo pedal I wanted to have where you could have it's almost like this vibe where it's real cool and vibey, but you also have this dead cut tremolo where it's like da 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 da.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You can tap tempo it.
That percussive thing.
And I want to make it where you say you're at the end of a song and you hit a big chord, you go bop 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 da, and it cuts dead cuts it off.
Yeah.
And then you can tap tempo it, so you just hit it twice and at whatever tempo you're at, and you can tap tempo your da, 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 you know, however fast you want it to go. I love it. You know, a pedal's good when they sent me the first version of it, and I sat down within 15 minutes and wrote a big piece with it.
Oh, that's
like,
great.
wow, this is cool. This is great. I wrote a song already.
Yeah,
I didn't write a whole song, but I wrote a part. So
that's great.
And then we're gonna do an overdrive, which is a tricky one because of course I'm going after the clon.
That's the toughest
Everybody's
one.
going after the clon.
Overdrive's the toughest pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, we got it, we got the clon, and then I'll hear it, and I'm like, you don't have the clon. Some people have the clon. It's just like the Dumble thing.
Yeah.
People are like, no, we got this thing, sounds like a Dumble. It does not sound like a Dumble. You put the Dumble and that next to one another, it's imitating a Dumble, but it's not the Dumble.
Yeah.
There's some great overdrives. There's like the Zen Drive I thought was great.
Yeah, love it.
There's so many.
Yeah, this Tube Screamer is great.
Yeah, Tube Screamer's great. I think it's just a different animal than the clon.
Yeah.
But if I'm at home and I'm playing through whatever I want at home, I'm playing through the clon.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm not going to bring an $8,000 pedal on tour. And I bought the clon when it was $400.
Oh, God.
So thank goodness.
Those days are gone.
Those days are gone.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to do an overdrive. I want it to be transparent. I want it to sound like the clon, and I don't want it to be $8,000.
Right,
I want it to be $200.
Well, great. Well, I can't wait to hear that. And I can't wait to hear the tremolo. When you, in fact,
Tremolo's great. It's
when
upstairs.
you get them done, send a couple to PG. We'll
Absolutely.
review them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, Charlie, let's review those pedals
Absolutely.
if we can.
And then the last, well, actually, this thing here just, if there's a problem at the show where something's starting to act up, I can hit that button and it will disengage this. So I'll be going straight to the amp. So if there's a problem here, we'll know it.
Yeah.
I've never used it. Scott over here, he put it on there.
That's the emergency panic switch.
That's the eject button.
Yeah.
Safety blanket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are safety blanket.
Yeah. Good
And
idea.
then this pedal here, I bought it just for fun. It's the Drop pedal by DigiTech, and I bought it because I'm in the dressing room warming up for a show, and I have so many different tunings. I don't want to have to keep grabbing a guitar tuning, so I'm like, all right, whole step down, half step down, I'll go down 7 steps.
Yeah.
So we have a song on our new record called Fable of the Silent Sun.
And this is your 7th album, right?
This is our 7th record with Alter Bridge.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh my gosh. I've recorded 18 records now, you know, with the Christmas record. I just did a Christmas record. This year is my 18th record.
God.
But this
You've
pedal,
been busy, man.
I've been busy. I've been busy. You know, I wish I was even busier with the jazzy kind of stuff, with the Sinatra stuff. But, so there's a song. It's called "Fable of the Silent Sun," and it's in G sharp standard, which is terrible. I don't want to play in G sharp standard because I wrote a solo that I can't do live because it's the strings are all over the place.
Right.
So then I'm like, why can't I take this drop pedal and tune it down? And live, it's and you know, it doesn't sound bad when we hit the hear a little bit of that digital kind of what it does, but I'd way rather have a little bit of that tone in there than having to play a guitar in G sharp.
Yeah,
Because the reaction of the string is still the same.
Yeah, well, and I don't know about you, but my hands gravitate towards the dots.
Yeah.
So when you're when I'm in between the dots, I'm always going one way or the other.
To me, that's a dream come true too. I wouldn't want to play that song live without that pedal.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll forget to turn that pedal off or forget to turn it on, and Myles would do his pretty intro to the song, and then I'll come in a complete different key. Oh, damn it.
That's a big sound.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, when that song kicks in and you hit that first note with that thing tuned down like that, and when it's isolated like this, you can hear how it colors the sound. when you're in a
In
live
context.
setting like this, you don't. It just sounds big.
Well, and even naked like that, it sounds amazing.
Yeah,
So,
it's fun. It's
yeah.
different. Would I use it in the studio? Probably not that
Yeah.
way, but
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, don't have to.
No.
Yeah,
no.
yeah, it's studio.
No, yeah.
Do whatever you want.
Yep.
Well, this is a good segue into your new amp.
Yes.
Can
yeah.
we talk about the new amp?
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is your new signature amp.
Yes. So my rig now is so simple. It's just one amplifier. The only reason I have two is just for a backup in case something goes terribly wrong. But outside of the amplifier, the most important thing is this. I don't know how to pronounce it. I call it Kikasui, but this thing takes voltage out of the wall, or the power out of the wall, and you can dial it in exactly where you want it. So you want it at 120 volts. So I travel all over the world with this thing, and power is a moving target.
Sure.
And it will destroy your show.
Oh, yeah.
So this thing, I think I learned it from Angus Young's tech. Did a rundown, and he uses these. A bunch of people use them now. But anyways, my rig is now just an MT100, which is the new signature amp that's coming out very soon. This is the first time it's ever been filmed here with you guys.
There we go.
So the only thing I've got going through it is I've got this G-Lab smooth delay running through the effects loop. I can't stand playing a guitar when it's just dry. I just can't stand it.
Yeah.
I just put my delay on, I tap tempo it like this every time for every song.
Yeah.
But anyways, we had to hide it because we're playing live and it's not revealed yet. So we had this gentleman make these covers, but for the first time in history, we're going to take that
so
cover
we're doing
off.
the reveal?
We're
Good,
doing the
yeah.
reveal. So,
Oh,
yeah.
there we go. Fabulous.
So we took the aesthetic idea from the grill of a old, I think it was like an old school Rolls Royce or something. And it's, we wanted to look industrial and timeless.
Yeah.
So the amp is 3 channels, and these channels share nothing other than the two 12AX7s and the effects loop. So there's no cascading anything. It's like having 3 amps in one head. And it's got a clean channel that to me is the best sounding clean. In the
Yeah.
high gain amp world, because a lot of the high gain amps will really focus on that
They'll do
dirty
one
channel.
thing,
And
yeah.
the clean channel leaves much to be desired a lot of times. There are amp companies that killed both of them, but and then you have the middle channel, which is what took so long. We took 5 years to develop this amp. It was I wanted to first do 2 channels, but then I'm like, you know what? I want there to be. I don't want to have to keep on dialing down my dirties or gaining up my cleans to have this middle of the road. So you could still strum stuff on this thing. And
Yeah.
it's a very versatile channel. See, the gain is set really low right now, but the way I have the gain set is if you dime it all the way, you can stand in front of the amp and it won't feed back, and you hold a note and it will bloom.
Wow.
So it's watch it feed back now.
Yeah, yeah, right.
So it's completely dimed. So yeah,
Wow.
so it does the bloom thing.
God, that's great.
We don't have the time today to go into all the versatility of that channel, but that took us years to dial in. It's I took my Dumble, which is my favorite Dumble, into Paul Reed
And you've had
Smith's.
several, right?
I've had several, and I brought it in there. I wanted to show Paul and the guys that let's really dive into this thing. And I also have a Bruno S100 that he borrowed that very Dumble for like 6 months to get all the time period correct parts, dial it in as good as he could. And I wanted to be like, all right, if they can get in the ballpark, let's try to get in the ballpark as well. So we sat there, and we went over it so many times, and
Yeah.
Paul would get in there and just tear into it, and we finally came up with this thing. There's something that happens when you play a Dumble when the pick hits the string. It's this certain characteristic that you hear that I wanted this amp to have, and I think we did a little bit of it. We did not make a Dumble. Nobody's made the Dumble.
Yeah.
But we made something that I think stands right up there against all the Dumble clones.
Oh,
you
that's
know?
great. Well, and Dumbles aren't even. I mean, they're all
They're all different.
They're all,
but they do have a thing.
Yeah.
The great Dumbles, all the ones that I've heard shared this characteristic that I wanted to bring out in this amp. But like I said, when I shoot this amp out with, I always have people come to my house and I'll break out all my amps. We'll have an amp party.
Yeah.
When I do a shootout with this overdrive channel versus, and I won't name names because I'm friendly with a lot of these folks, but when I shoot it out with a lot of the Dumble style amps, this is right there with them. And those amps are $10,000, $8,000. I want to keep this amp $1,800, you know,
God,
under
that's-
$2,000.
Yeah,
I want
great.
I want it to be super affordable. So this channel, like I said, it does everything well. You can make it sound like a Marshall. You know, you turn the gain all the way up. You can do the AC/DC thing or whatnot. If you throw a Klon in front of that channel, it's the glassiest, greatest, squishy overdrive ever. And then the dirty channel is kind of the where it all began. I think that's where most of the, you know, the players, younger players especially, are going to be buying the amp because it does
Sure.
the heavy thing. So. So it does the chunky thing,
yeah, just huge.
but it also does, you know, sometimes it's hard to get that chunky thing happening without a shrill, harsh lead tone. And the
Yeah.
lead tone on it's, if you're familiar with the MT15, you played that, you can see that that's got that aggressive tone that you can dial back and a lead tone that doesn't get harsh. You know,
Yeah.
it's just smooth and rich. But that's, it's got a lot going on in that amp. I wanted to build an amp that if I took on the road, I wouldn't be missing any of my amps from home.
Right.
You know, I've got my Fender Twin-esque kind of cleans,
Yeah,
and
that
I've got my
clean.
Dumbly sound, and then I've got all my high gain amps and it's kind of like if you looked at like a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier and a Bogner Ubershaw and they had babies and I tried to think all my favorites from these amps and put into this one channel.
Well, it's congrats, man. I think
Thank you.
totally nailed it. Especially that clean sound, man. It's so hard to
the
get
clean is,
get the combination of those.
absolutely.
So fabulous. Well, Mark, I can't thank you enough.
Thank
We're going
you.
to talk to your bandmate
Yes,
and
yes.
see what he's got going on. Okay, now I'm with Myles Kennedy. Myles, so good to see you again,
It's
man.
good to see you.
And so good to see this guitar.
Well, thank you. I'm in love. I love these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I did a review of it a little while ago, and you know, I'm a Nashville guy, so
Right.
Tellys are like part of our.
Right.
They don't let you in town without a Telly.
Right, exactly.
And to me, it was just like the perfect. They made everything that I like about a T style. They totally accomplished, but it does so much more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, you know, it's one of those things where when we all started talking, I think the goal was to take elements from a T style that we loved
Yeah.
and then marry them with more modern,
Right.
you know,
Sure.
concepts.
Yeah.
And that was a lot harder than I thought it would be because
Right.
it's a delicate dance.
Right.
You know,
Oh, yeah,
how do you
totally.
improve on something that was so perfect out of the gate?
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's like from 1950 on, they have figured
Yeah.
it out. It's pretty amazing
Yeah.
when you really think
oh,
about
yeah.
it.
This is 70-year-old technology.
Exactly. And but they got it right the first time. So it was a matter of, you know, just no pun intended, riffing together and trying to figure out, you know, how we wanted to approach this. And I knew that like the neck was really important. I knew, you know, what I wanted to feel there. I wanted the profile to be substantial enough to where, you know, there was a girth there, and it would help resonate and whatnot. But I also didn't want it to be baseball bat fatigue the hand too quickly. The other thing that took a while was trying to figure out whether it was going to be a 7 1/4 radius or just a 10-inch radius, and we settled on the 10, fortunately, which I think
Glad you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, glad you did, because yeah, that seems like the sweet spot.
Yeah, it's and plus that's, I think, so many guitars, you know, from, I don't know, you know, from a certain time period, that just became kind of the industry standard, and
Yeah.
people are used to that. So if I switch guitars, if I go to one of my McCartys or something, it's already at that radius, so I'm comfortable, and I don't feel like I'm trying to push through the wood, you know. But yeah, and the pickups, that was another big
So
thing.
how did the pickups happen?
So initially, I think for me, I was hoping it would be close to certain T styles that I liked, that I had in my collection, and we were shooting for that. And then Paul and the team there had a great idea, which was, well, let's try the narrow fields, because then what we can do is we can take elements of what you like as far as that single coil personality, that characteristic of single coils that only single coils have. But we can do it, and we can remove the hum,
Right.
you know. And I was like, well, if you can pull that off. So when they sent, I think, the second version, I was just floored, because it exceeded what I thought it was going to be in the first place. And really, for me, the best thing is it's such a versatile pickup. You know, I wasn't sure. Because of the various projects I play with, I was hoping we were going to fall into a tone that would, you know, it would be very versatile, and that's what this achieves. To me, it's like it's got an element of almost like a P90 at times, but then if I back off I work with the tone knob a lot, you know. So if I want it to sound like a straight up single coil, I'll put it down, leave it wide open, and then you get that, just that. You get that spank.
Yeah.
But if you want to calm it down a little bit, and I'll even back that off a little bit, you know. So it's nice, and then when we can go over there and we put some gain through it, you'll hear hear how that works. But yeah, I mean, it's just been great.
Yeah, you really nailed it. Love the body shape, love the way it felt. Yeah, it's just.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot coming from you.
Oh, yeah.
Man,
no.
that's great to hear.
Yeah. Okay, so you probably spend most of your time on this during the night, but what else are you carrying out? What are your, what else, do you play anything else during the night?
Yeah, well, just various versions of these. So I have.
So the McCarty, is it retired?
No, it's not retired. I use the McCarty on a song called Open Your Eyes, and that really works well. And then I use the 250 for the single cut, 250 for one song for like a real heavy cut.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's this one, the antique white version, the hunter's green version, and the black one. Those are
It's really
all night
not
long.
color. It's
all
really
about the color.
It's really not color or anything else. Okay, that's great. Okay.
So, yeah, as far as the main rhythm tone with Alter Bridge, it's just the Diezel Channel 3.
Sure, which I think you had last time.
I did.
You've been pretty loyal to those guys for a while.
I
now.
love Diezel. If it ain't broke, don't fix it is my motto. I've been using I started with the Herbert when we were making the Blackbird record, and fell in love with Channel 2, and then started using the VH4. I don't know, how many years ago did I start integrating that? Probably 5-6 years ago. And now we put them together and kind of blend them a certain way. So it's
okay, so you're actually running both.
yeah.
Cal, I forgot just how complex they look.
Yeah,
It
right?
really, it's like a spaceship.
Yeah, it really is. But we really only use two channels on each amp, so we're not changing a lot, and it just works. It's just. I mean, it's just tight.
Yeah.
And it cuts. It sits in the mix really nice. It's all about the mid range.
Yeah. It is.
Right?
It is all about
That's really all I care about. It's like, you're like, well, how much bottom end does it have? Well, I don't know. I mean, it's like, what are the mids? Is it gonna, because when you're putting it in that environment, with Brian and how much bottom end, how much real estate he's using there, it's about finding the right mid-range frequencies, which this does really well.
Yeah, really well. And you're running into both those Diezel cabinets.
Yes. I think we have one is dry and one is wet. So
Okay.
let's do the lead sound. Yeah, go ahead and throw it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's just nice and does what a guitar should do. you
Yeah.
know?
And what you're not a huge pedal board. What all are you running?
Yeah, so I'm running the, so I can remember off the top of my head. What do we got over there? We've got the Clone, which is what I use for the leads. And that basically takes off a little bit of the top end. It just kind of smooths it out in conjunction with pulling this tone knob.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. So without it,
You're doing the dance with your tech.
exactly. Like, that's what we do every night too. When I'm over here, I just say, Dave, hit that pedal. I'm going to do the lead. Yeah. Actually, I just realized I had that in the second position, but you still get the point.
Yeah.
So we got that. We have the freeze, which is important for at the end of at some of the songs. We want that feedback.
Yeah.
So I'll just hit the freeze pedal so that way I can switch guitars.
Sure.
Keep the, it's in case there's not applause. So sometimes it's like crickets. And people are like, these guys suck. So just leave the freeze pedal on. And I don't know, it's not gonna mess with me.
Right.
So we got the freeze pedal.
Strymon Deco.
The
Deco. Strymon.
The Strymon's killer. I'm borrowing that from you, borrowing from Dave. He found that recently. I love that pedal.
The Line 6 the modulation.
Yeah, so
the old school.
The old school, which I've had now for...
It's like a 25-year-old pedal.
Yeah, and I think it's held up for 25 years.
Yeah.
It's about the tri-chorus. That's what I love on
Yeah,
that.
oh yeah.
And I've been using that sound forever in
Yeah.
this band and in Mayfield 4, and yeah.
Yeah.
So then we also have what do we have?
The Boss Reverb.
Boss Reverb.
Digital Reverb.
That's a cool pedal, which adds. Go ahead and kick that one on. I like what it does on top there. It's cool.
Yeah, I love it.
And what else do we have there?
We got the Pog.
Which we use once in a while.
Yeah.
We use that once in a while.
And then normally it's the Octron 3 Fox Rocks, which we're in the process of getting back. So
Yeah, the
now it's-
Octron,
Yep.
Octron 3, which I use
Get
for.
forward next time,
Yeah, that's right. We're stepping up.
Stepping up.
Stepping up. From
Things are
3 to
really
4.
taking off.
Well, we finally I think we've made it. We finally arrived. but yeah, I mean it's not a real complex rig.
Yeah.
We say we keep it pretty simple.
Yeah. Great guitar, great amp, couple pedals.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hey, tell me about the owl.
The owl. Yeah, the owl was kind of it was something that we came up with for the solo record, the Ides of March. I believe my friend Chuck came up with that design, and I love owls. Owls represent wisdom, which I have nothing. I have nothing going on upstairs, so I'm not aspiring to wisdom. No, seriously.
I love the humility.
Well, and it's not
Don't
false humility,
believe
believe me. I'm as dumb as a box of rocks, kids. But actually, there's another. It depends which culture it is, but it's really the ability to be kind of be flexible. And I'm actually highlighting the fact that I'm dumb as a box of rocks. I'm not finding the right word right now, but it's basically the ability to adapt.
Oh.
Right, and that's what I love about this guitar. I feel like the owl really covers that nicely because this is such a versatile instrument.
Right.
And that was paramount for us.
And it was kind of a perfect marriage with PRS because they're such a bird company.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it kind of all. It seems like the natural progression.
Yeah.
Boom.
Ends with the owl.
Yeah.
But I love owls. I just think owls are just majestic, incredible creatures. So,
Right.
yeah.
And you kind of come from owl territory.
We do up in the Pacific Northwest, up there in Spokane, Washington, and but sometimes my wife Celine and I will go for a drive and head out towards Idaho, and we'll see, you know, all sorts of cool birds.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So
Yeah.
I felt like the owl was perfect.
So Myles, what do you got going on back here?
Yeah, so we've got some delays that mainly are used for leads.
Are these in the effects loop? Is that why you
They
kept
are.
them back here?
Yes, they are in the effects loop, and we run the effects loop just in the Herbert, right?
No, just
That's just in the VH4. So the Herbert's dry, VH4 is wet, and we run the dispatch master from Earthquaker, Killer Pedals, and then a carbon copy from MXR,
Oh, yeah.
which is, you know,
Yeah.
tried and true. So
Tried and true.
yeah.
Well, I know you guys got a show, and I know we've overstayed our welcome, but man, Myles, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to play this, and congrats on that. I love your new
Thank
guitar. Glad it's
Thank
out
you.
there to,
Thank you.
you know, moving us forward.
Right on.
Till next time.